All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99, all box and everything. Make sure y'all subscribe. All right, y'all, just back with a real quick post-fight thoughts video on this fight last night. This heavyweight bout between Jared Big Baby Anderson and Charles Martin. First off, I got to say shout out to both of these fighters. This was a pretty good fight, pretty good main event for the heavyweight division. You had Jared Anderson, who was fighting in his hometown last night, and he's on a solid win streak, 14-0. He's a promising prospect. Everybody has been watching him. They're looking for the next big thing in the heavyweight division. And I think that, he has the ingredients. He has that hometown following. He has a crowd-pleasing style. He just seems like an all-around smart guy as well. This was his first big test, his first decision against Charles Martin. And Charles Martin wasn't a slouch in this fight. I know a lot of people thought this was going to be an easy win, but I knew this had the ingredients for upset. This sort of had the ingredients for an upset because you had this boxer, former heavyweight champion, 37 years old. Some people are just counting him out. Everybody's kind of basing it off of the knockout losses that he's faced in the past. But when you really look at it, this guy has a lot of experience under his belt. He's got knocked out by legit competition. But when you really look at what he's bringing to the table, the southpaw style, tall, rangy, he's going to be trouble for a guy like Jared Anderson. And he was. He was a lot of trouble for him towards the second half of the fight. Now, Jared Anderson, he did a good job of keeping his cool and just staying ahead on the cards. But I think Charles Martin was able to expose some things that Jared Anderson is going to need to work on in the future, in my opinion. I thought Jared Anderson, he established a good jab against the southpaw. He scored a knockdown, landed some good body shots. But he was wide open. He was kind of wide open with the guard, which is going to be dangerous against some of these heavier hitters in the game. I think Charles Martin, he was more so looking for his range throughout the first half of the fight. He really couldn't get it going. And he really was ignoring his jab. Because I believe that Charles Martin started pumping that jab to like the chest and shoulders, he probably could have landed that straight left hand a lot cleaner early on in the fight. It wasn't really till like the second half of the fight when he found his range that he really get confident and start letting it go and start giving Jared Anderson some trouble a little bit. But the first half of the fight, I thought Jared Anderson, he was doing a good job of just trying to build a lead. He was backing up Charles Martin, landing to the body, into the head. Like I said, just out jabbing the southpaw. Which a lot of people can't believe sometimes. Yeah, orthodox jab can land on the southpaw, if you land it at the right angle. All right. And speaking of southpaws in the third round, I like how Jared Anderson, he decided to switch in like that last 30 seconds or last minute to southpaw, land a good straight left hand and right hook over the top of Charles Martin and drop him. So that was entertaining. That was entertaining in front of the home crowd. He's kind of switching stances up and scores a knockdown. But after that, like I'd say like around 4 and 5, I think he lost a little bit of steam because Charles Martin, like I said, he was just creating a lot of range and doing a little bit of, that slick head movement here and there. Like he was getting touched, but he was taking a lot of the steam off Jared Anderson's punches and, tying up a little bit in the 5th round. And I know Jared Anderson did say he wanted to get the fighter out of here, let's say, before 5. And by the 5th round, Charles Martin was still there and Jared Anderson was kind of looking at the clock. I saw him kind of look at the clock a couple of times in this fight. So I don't know if he was getting tired or, he just wanted to find, a rhythm to slow down at. But Charles Martin was game, man, because even like in 6, 7, and 8, Charles Martin, he was still in the fight. He was still landing that straight left hand here and there. A couple of those shots did kind of snap Jared Anderson's head back. But Jared Anderson, he was putting a lot of pressure on Charles Martin, still landing. Like I said, he didn't really have to worry about the power punches, so he could kind of step in the pocket, land those hard left, rights to the body, go back up top with a jab and land combinations without having to worry about anything coming back. But every now and then, like one left hand would come back and, crack him on the side of the temple there. And, Jared Anderson, he was lucky that Charles Martin didn't have like a lot of power and that he missed a few of those swings. But I give Jared Anderson a lot of credit. With the youth on his side, his reflexes were good when he made Charles Anderson miss sometimes with that pullback. But that pullback ain't something I'd recommend when you get in there with better and better heavyweights. All right. So 8 and 9, I'd say those are some competitive rounds, but I think that still Jared Anderson stayed ahead. He was doing a good job of just piling up points. I think at one point, like around 8 again, he kind of looked at the clock again, whenever Charles Martin was still in there. But by round 10, I think Jared Anderson was comfortably winning, but he was staying in the chest. I don't know if he was trying to find that knockout, but like he was staying in the, just staying close in with the pressure of Charles Martin. And then that 10 second mark came and boom, Charles Martin cracks him with the left hand and hurts him. and he's saved by the bell, man, because he was hurt from that shot. He didn't go down, like he wasn't like on his way down, but he took the shot, got buzzed, and went into the ropes, and that was in the fight. So overall, I think that Charles Martin definitely did give him a competitive fight. I would still say it was about 7 rounds to 3, but even like I said, with the rounds that Jared Anderson won, there was still some holes in his game where you don't want to see him do certain things like that against better competition. Like I said, like pulling back and, or just kind of leaning back with the guard wide open and leaving his chin, up in the air, because Charles Martin was able to touch the chin a lot in this fight, So, yeah, I need to see just that defense tighten up a little bit more. Snap his jab, just, one at it, kind of snap those hard jabs, take his head off the line a few times, just to kind of get his respect, and set up the power punches more. Because if you throw in volume, you're not going to be able to set up that knockout. Because there was a few times I think Jared Anderson was hoping that knockout would come from like a high volume. But with the way Charles Martin was stepping out of range, he was taking a lot of sting off the punches. He was rolling with him a little bit, leaning to the side. And I think he could kind of read some of Jared Anderson's punches. That's why they didn't really land like square on the money. That third round, I'd say that was his best shot that he landed, is because, when he switched southpaw, he landed that left hook, and then that right hand came over the top because he was Charles Martin was right in that punching zone. He was right in the power zone because he switched quick up on him. But yeah, overall, like I said, it was a good fight. Still need to see Jared Anderson get a little bit more work in. I want to see him take the next year of taking some, C competition, maybe a B- here and there, and work on the defense. Get a couple of trainers that can help him get the defense going. What's the other young fighter's name? The Cuban fighter Frankie Martin. That'd be a good fight for him. What's his name? Efe Ajagba. That's a good fight because Efe Ajagba, I believe he still fights for ESPN. So that's not a bad matchup for him. But yeah, overall, I think it was a good performance. In front of his hometown crowd. I'm glad he pulled out the victory though. Because like I said, I've seen so many upsets in hometowns, even on the lower level when I've been there personally. You had that hometown favorite. He's just like a hometown fighter that everybody's going for, and you go there in person, you see him get knocked out, and you're like, oh man, wow, that was embarrassing. And like I said, this did have the ingredients for that because he was facing the tall, long-rangey former champion that's a southpaw that was going to be counterpunching and looking for those openings, and they were there. But Jared Anderson, he was able to withstand that storm in the last round and just overall keep his head cool. So, yeah, man, looking forward to seeing more from Jared Anderson, guys. Let me know in the comment section what y'all thought of the fight, all boxing, everything. I'm out. Peace.